Today's subject, today's thing I want to go over is contractors, and contractors who do shoddy work, contractors who, how would I put it, don't treat it as if it was yours. Like, I treat my every job as if it was something that I could deal with at my house. And you know, I have high expectations, other people have higher, some people have lower. So this happened to me back about 5 months ago. A neighbor of mine, in fact, he lives where that white car is, the next house. And I've known him for a long time. I have a lot of respect for him. He's a carpenter. He's an excellent carpenter. I've even, you know, parted out some of the jobs that I've had where I've had to have a drawer shortened or whatever because it gets in the way of the plumbing, and you know, he's been able to facilitate that. He's, you know, he built a chest of drawers for his daughter when his daughter was born, and he was doing it outside, and I watched the progress, and he's just really good at what he does. He also does painting and sheetrock, and painting is a big thing of his. In fact, he's painted, this is a very tall chimney, and it's GP siding, and it falls apart, it swells up, and yada yada yada. Anyway, he's replaced, I think, at least 2 chimneys, well, siding in this neighborhood with Hardie. So I hired him, and I did not argue his price. When he gave me the price, I'm like, okay, go for it, no problem, because I trust his work. However, he did a crap job for me for a lot of different reasons, right? If I had somehow negotiated his rate, if I had said, oh, that's too expensive, you know, then I could understand some of this crap work. But you know, lippage is not only in tile. There's a lot of issues. Look at that. See that board's swollen? There's a bunch of boards swollen. About 8 or 9 up, you see another board that's obviously swollen and should have been taken out. And honestly, what I was expecting is that all of this replaced by Hardie, and it did not happen. He only replaced, you know, the ones that he could see, not that I could see. In fact, on this wall here, there was probably 2 or 3 boards, you know, that were swollen up. And I said to him, what's going on here? You know, what about these boards, you know, where I can almost poke my finger through? So you can see the difference. He replaced this one, this is Hardie, but he did not replace the joining ones, which, you know, is okay, whatever. But why would I have to tell him, you know, that those boards need replacing? Like, he should know that. And I'm not tall enough to go up there and see what he did around the chimney. It was really crap. If I can put a picture in, I will. But, you know, some of this siding was actually hanging off, you know, by just a nail. And it really looked like poop. It was horrible. So it looks much better than it did. However, some of the things that really annoyed me at the end of the job, I had come in here, they were about, I don't know, probably 2/3 of the way through. And I noticed that he had patched very shoddily, you know, this brick trim, this brick molding, right? When I came over here, I literally, look at that, it's still squishy. I literally put my finger through this brick mold and put a hole in it intentionally because it was so soft. I wanted him to, you know, like, notice it and fix it, which he did. It looks like with a bunch of silicone, it looks like to me. And then he just painted right over it, as he did here. Just painted right over it, as he did here. And yes, I know it's a lot of work, and yes, I know, see, somebody else did a patch. Somebody else at one point did a patch job in there, and that's what should have been done there. You know, just a lot of, you know, not a perfect job by any stretch, right? So some of the other issues that I had, we had a leak in our roof, which is why we replaced the roof. We had a leak in our roof, right? There's probably a couple of boards, deck boards, that had literally just disintegrated, and the water was coming in through the garage. And so he patched, and I can't show it now because the garage door is up, but I'll put it down in a few minutes. So he patched this area, but you know, I have steepling, right? And the steepling And in the bathroom, the steepling really was poor. It's like I did it. I did it, right? So if you're gonna hire somebody that's a painter, know what you know. Look at this. This is 5-6 months old paint that's already coming off. It's already peeling off. Why is my paint peeling off? Huh? If there's a painter out there, tell me why my paint's peeling off. Because I don't know anything about painting, and I don't want to know. It's a messy, sloppy, nasty job that I never want to do. And I've done a few jobs painting back in the day, and I just you know, like, I don't do it no more for that reason. I'm not good at it. Another thing that really annoyed me, when he started, you know, like emptying his buckets and cleaning his buckets, he just came over here out from the house a little bit and emptied. Look at this. This is 5 months later, 6 months later, with his paint and I don't know what else still embedded in my lawn. When you have rocks over here that you could have just as easily emptied your buckets over here, but no, he does it over there where it's obvious. And on top of that, the hose isn't too bad anymore. I think the front hose is worse. Where he was touching the hose, his paws, his paint paws were all over my hose. Like, he didn't even bother cleaning up my hose, you know. I think the front hose is worse. And some of it has come off in the interim. Another thing too, even though I saw that there was clearly some paper that they hung in certain areas, and you can't see it and I can't close up on this camera, but on that left side there especially, you can see the overspray. So there's definite overspray, and you see it more at night. And there's all kinds of overspray on that window. Again, you see it more at night. Regret that I hired him now. And here's what really irritates me, right? So as I said, we've been friends now for what, 12 years? At least 11, 12 years. And I don't talk to him anymore. Not only do I not talk to him anymore, but I blocked him off of WhatsApp. Look, some paint peeling off of that board up there too. I blocked him on WhatsApp, and when I drive, and I have to drive by his house all the time, when I drive by his house, I just keep on driving. I used to just stop and, you know, like chew the fat, and I don't even do that no more because it irritated me. But what's worse is when he came here to get his final check, I let him know all these issues, right? I let him know all these issues, and I said that, you know, I'm just stressed out and I want this to be over, and this is a long time coming, and, you know, like, I didn't argue with your price. You should have done a better job. You should have replaced more of that siding. And he's like, well, it was a lot of work. And I'm like, yeah, but you should know that. Or if you didn't know that, then you come to me afterward and say, you know, look, I didn't sign up for this much, you know, I've got to charge you a couple, you know, $500, $800, $1,000 more or whatever, you know, to accomplish all this stuff, and then I can make a decision from there. But instead, he just does the shoddy work, and after I hand him the check, he doesn't even offer, you know what, let me come back, let me take care of that, let me clean up my paint up. Is it still on the hose? Let me clean up my grubby paws off of your hose. Let me, you know, like, take care of those things that you're talking about. And he didn't do it, and it irritates me. So when you get into a bad bath, look at here. Back in the day, I had bought my roof, my framing nailer, my pneumatic framing nailer. Something happened to it, and I went on Craigslist and I bought one, and I, you know, like, yeah, I was stupid, but I just started, you know, let me test this. Bam, 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 bam. And so he did nothing to pull those nails out or recess them, and he did nothing to caulk in those holes, and then the paint's just dripping off of it. Really? Very, very small potatoes, which is why when I handed him in the check and he didn't offer any type of recourse or, you know, fix or anything like that, you know, I didn't argue because, you know, I just needed it done. You know what I mean? I was just frustrated and I needed it done. But I would never recommend him anymore. And, you know, he's a one-man show, kind of like I am, so, you know, putting on a bad review or whatever, and it's not even worth my time, really. This is the bathroom ceiling. See the steepling? And this is how he matched it. Now, understand, I had him do this 2 more times, right? 2 more times to get to this point. Prior to that, it looks like I did it. You know, I would be horrible at steepling, but I don't purport to be a painter either. This is another one. There used to be like a little knee wall down here. When I renovated this bathroom, I turned this toilet. It used to be facing that way with a little knee wall here. And when I renovated it, I turned it this way so I can make a bigger shower. And so this is part of that wall. And again, the steepling that he did is nowhere near a match. You know, it's like, I could do that. Here's the other issue. So when I fixed this wall, when this wall came like this little pony wall, when I fixed this wall, I didn't really fix it. You know, I put a piece of sheetrock in there and I slapped some mud on there. I never sanded it down. It stayed that way for years. And you can clearly see the outline. I don't know if it shows up on camera. You can clearly see the outline of where that wall was, right? So then why would you not make that wall like disappear? Which hasn't happened. You can, well, I don't know. I can see it clearly. And I can see that clearly. So yeah, you know, disappointing. This isn't going to show up on camera. That's the overspray on the windows that you saw from outside. That's the overspray. And then you got overspray going on here on this top side. This is all overspray. It's just not dirt. I mean, yeah, there's some dirt, but it's overspray. And like I said, it shows up really, really clear at night. This is a secondary bedroom, overspray. Hard to see, but definitive overspray going on. Look at all that. Like cloud. That's overspray too. So this is the inside of the garage, and this isn't half bad. This actually matches that a whole lot better. But I think that's the second iteration. I think that's, you know, I'm like, well, that's not acceptable. And so then he did it again, and it looks much better. But obviously, you know, it's a primer paint that doesn't match anything near the ceiling, and I get that. But you know, if he had said, hey Bob, you know, let me match all this together, because here's obviously where the ceiling leak, where the roof leak used to be, and you know what I mean, just like be on top of it. Hey Bob, for another $250 or $400 or whatever, let me paint the entire garage ceiling so that all of this comes together and matches, right? That's the advice that I would want to have. And you know, again, I'm not opposed. As much as I paid him, you know, another $400 or $500 wouldn't have been a big deal. But he doesn't even come to me and look at that. Where that patch was done, it looks like garbage. And so he's just leaving me to my own devices and saying, well, you know, I guess he'll take care of it on his own. I guess, I don't know. So sorry about all the rambling, but I just want to put this out there because I have, you know, an 11-year history of showing bad work, bad tile work, and, you know, just junk. And, you know, a lot of my customers are frustrated. And now I feel that frustration after having gone through, you know, Rowan and his sloppy work. Because again, he does good work, he just didn't do good work for me, which is a little bit odd. And it's throwing me. And again, the only reason I accepted it is because I'm frustrated up to here with trying to get rid of this house for the last literally a year and a half. But I'm passing on those problems to other people. And that's not good. Well, I'm not passing them on. Rowan passed them on to other people. And that's not good. I didn't get the lowest bid. You know, there are a couple other bids that came in a little bit lower. A couple more that came in a little bit higher. I would have paid a higher price to have a better job. A couple of things that I did not show on the video because I forgot. I guess his brother was in doing the cabinet. He took all the faces of the cabinet, you know, the doors and all that stuff, off. And he put them in my garage because it was back in February, it was cold. And I get that. But he put them in my garage and used an airless, which is a sprayer, to spray those cabinets in my garage. Right now, there's residual paint everywhere. It's like dust all over the shelves and all. Our stuff was in there. Our stuff was on all the shelves and all that stuff, you know, like the cars weren't in there, thankfully, but he just put all, you know, I didn't know. I thought he was going to paint them. I thought he was going to use a brush or a roller or something. I didn't know. But he used an airless. And so all of that stuff, all of that sprinkling of paint is everywhere in the garage, including on the floor. And if I ever get to the point where, well, I will eventually, where the house sells and I pull all the stuff out of the garage, I can show you where things were at. Here's where the chair was. See, there's an outline there. That drove me crazy. By the second day, I'm like, what are you doing spraying in my garage? And they finally moved everything outside, which they should have done from the start. After they got done and they put the cabinet doors back on, about 6 of them were discombobulated. About 6 of them were cockeyed because the hardware wasn't adjusted. I came in afterward because, you know, I didn't want to bother with, you know, hey, like I said, I was over it by then. So I just came in there with the screw gun and just readjusted. It didn't take much time, but you can see, obviously, inside of the cabinet on some of those doors.
So was it presentable?
It's presentable. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post a video. And thank you very much for your support.